Hi guys, Sophie here. Um, so I have a bit like a different video for you guys today, as you can see from the title. Um, so I'm gonna not be talking about my dreads today, but I'm gonna be talking about or I'm gonna do the mixed girl tag. A lot of people have been doing this on YouTube, and it's something for me that's a little weird. It's a weird. I mean, everyone's experience is different, but I don't know. It's something that's not totally comfortable for me. I guess you'll see why or whatever. So I thought I would do the mixed girl tag today. I got the questions from another video, not from the source itself. So I don't know if these are the right questions or all of them or whatever. But yeah, I've got some up here. This might be kind of a rambly video because I haven't thought about them at all yet. I've just kind of written down the questions. So yeah, let's get started. So let me pull up the questions. So what are you mixed with? So I've never done one of those ancestry tests or anything, but I am 50% Puerto Rican and 50% white. Now, I know that the white part has probably a ton of different kinds of Welsh, I think German, Irish, European, all whatever. And the Puerto Rican side has a little bit of Afro-Irish in there. I know that my dad has a tiny weird Jamaican Irish in him, but he identifies as 100% Puerto Rican. So what ethnicity have you been mistaken for is the next question. So I've been mistaken for Italian a lot. My last name is Robledo, so people kind of think it's Italian. And especially since I have white skin, but don't really look like a white person, people are oh, you're Italian. But yeah, no, I'm not Italian at all. Is your hair curly or straight? So my natural hair is extremely curly. I don't really know how to insert a photo or anything, but my dad has really coarse hair. My mom has very fine hair, so mine was this kind of ringlety in between. And I have a little piece of hair down here at the bottom of this dread that you can kind of see how springy curly that is. So that's what my natural hair looks like. So that's what my hair is like. So the next question is, was coming from your different backgrounds challenging growing up? And I'm gonna say, in hindsight, in some ways, but when I was growing up, not really. I grew up in a predominantly white area, so a lot of people didn't really know that it's oh, you're partly brown, which means we need to be mean to you. Kids in my area, I didn't really. There was very few kids of color in my school, and I don't know if they were treated differently. They probably were in some ways, but nothing towards me, and that is because I am particularly white passing. But I had a lot of instances where my family members were discriminated against in front of me or near me, and that was really hard because it was kind of why, this is my family, why are they being treated differently? And I mean, obviously, we know now, or I know now, that racism is a very intense, terrible thing. And you kind of never, for me, you never really realize your circumstances, when you're in it. So that's why I say, in hindsight, it was a little, hard. Because when growing up, it was kind of this is how it is. And my dad didn't really give me a lot of that Puerto Rican culture in my household a lot, so I didn't really have a polarizing force. It was more of just I had this side of me that I didn't really know much about. And as a kid, it's kind of just alright. So the next question is, I guess I did make some notes on here. I didn't think it was weird and different, but now I'm realizing how different my family was, because like I said, I did grow up in a predominantly white area, and like thinking back, I know now that my family life was so different than a lot of the kids I was growing up around. But, you know, I wasn't able to really reflect on that in that moment. Sorry about that confusion here. This is the next question. So what background do you embrace the most? And this is kind of hard. I think it depends on how someone would define embrace. I love the fact that I have this Puerto Rican side of me. I really identify as a biracial person. I love my Puerto Rican heritage, but I am not around a lot of people of color very often, so I think my social context has kind of like made me embrace, but I don't really want to embrace the white side of me. Because I almost have like resentment, but I know that I shouldn't. I've just always been such a light-skinned person that it's kind of like I wanted to be able to embrace my Puerto Rican heritage, my brown skin, but I didn't really have access to those things. So I embrace them both. I know more about my mom's past than my dad's. I know more about my mom's family history than my dad's. So I really embrace being Puerto Rican, but I can't really embrace that heritage very much because I can't. Which is kind of part of the reason why I started this video saying it's challenging for me, because I wish I knew so much more about my Puerto Rican side of me. Yeah. Have you ever been teased for being different? Not really, because people couldn't really see me as different. People of color see me as different. They're like, oh, what are you? Like, right off the bat. But white people, they just see me as white. Because I have white skin. But I don't identify as a white person. But it's also hard for me to identify as a Latina, because I don't connect, like, I don't know much about that side of myself. Yeah. Have you ever been ashamed for being multiracial? And I'm gonna say absolutely not, because I have always been so enamored and in love with my Puerto Rican family. I was in awe of their culture and their dancing, and I click right into that when I'm plugged into that, and I love it. And I wish that everyone got to experience this juxtaposition of a quiet house with a grandma playing piano and a crazy Puerto Rican party with dancing, and, you know, I wish everyone could experience that, because I feel like I have kind of a broad worldview almost because of this, and, so absolutely not. I've never been ashamed. I've always loved it. I've always loved when people ask me questions about it. I think it's, I love it. And I guess this is a good segue into, oh, I skipped one, never mind. Do you think being mixed has its benefits? I think it does, because I think that just some of the shallow benefits, like, one, a lot of people are like, oh, mixed babies, which is there's so many issues with that in itself, but, so kind of, it's like, yeah, everyone, like, wants to be mixed, like, so that's kind of, like, cool. I feel like people kind of are interested in the fact that you're mixed. I feel like people want to, like, know about it. People want to, like, find out how it's impacted your life. I don't think anything else, though, really. Like, I haven't really ran into any experiences where I felt, like, more equipped or anything with being mixed. Like, I wish I was full Puerto Rican. And that's, so that, it's kind of like a downfall and a benefit. But I wouldn't really say it's a downfall. Like, I guess it's a benefit to me because I feel well-rounded almost, because I have this part of me. What makes being multiracial a beautiful thing? For me, I think it's beautiful because Um, everyone is so unique, of course. Like, everyone has such different, like, backgrounds and roots and, like, everything. But I think it's really interesting to have two people come from completely different cultures and, like, create a new, you know, like, my mom and dad coming together. Like, my parents literally were complete opposites in every single regard. And I think it's beautiful to be the product of that. I think it's beautiful to be the product of almost this polar opposition. It's also just a beautiful thing because a lot of the very, very beautiful people on this earth are mixed or something. Like, so many of us are, obviously. Like, everyone has a bunch of races within them. I'm not sure if I'm using the correct terminology. But it's really interesting and beautiful when there's, like, two things that are very different that are coming together to create, you know, what's the word I'm thinking of? I don't know. Whenever someone in a YouTube video can't think of a word, I'm always like, that's the word you're thinking of, but now I, like, can't think of this word, so. Sorry, a little side speech there. Any advice to someone who struggles with their multiracial identity? I would say, you got this. You got this. I would say if you're struggling with your multiracial identity, I'd urge you to find out why. Like, why are you struggling? And try to kind of, like, be gentle with yourself and do what you need to do to kind of be more comfortable. So, like, if you feel like, I'm just gonna throw out an example, like me, like, oh, I don't know that much about one side of me, and it's painful and it's sad, because family stuff is always painful and sad. Not always, but you know what I mean. So I would, like, look into Puerto Rican culture, or, like, talk to my grandma on the phone and ask her about her mom or something, and just kind of try to dig into those things, because that's what's gonna help you feel good about your multiracial identity instead of struggling with it. And I think if it's people that are bothering you about it, literally, pardon my language, fuck them. Literally, fuck them. That's their issue. It has nothing to do with you. Your multiracial identity has nothing to do with whatever they think. And I know, especially these days, with all this racist shit that Trump has been, like, provoking, I know that it's extra hard these days, but you just need to own yourself and own your background. And if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're struggling with this, do the research, dig in, become grounded, and do the work that you need to do to feel comfortable, whether that be telling yourself that their mean thoughts have nothing to do with you, or whether it's just trying to identify more with that side of you, or whatever you need to do. I'm sorry if someone out there is struggling. I know that many, many, many people struggle with this. Race is such a heavy, sticky, tricky, complicated topic, because it's so different for everyone, and especially today, it is a very, like, loaded topic of discussion. So yeah, that's my mixed girl tag. Let me know if you guys have any other questions about my, like, mixed identity or anything, or, like, me being white passing, because it's really interesting when you feel like a Spanish person, but you know that everyone sees you as a white person, so it's kind of like, well, where do I put myself then? So that's an interesting thing. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Yeah. See you soon.